from Abuja.
It's wonderful you're part of our show. We appreciate you. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and this is Magnus Kpakol GVA, Global Views Africa. As always, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. In view today, a continuation of our discussion on the sluggish Nigerian economy. This slow pace of the economy, when will it end? Well, it has happened. The president has appointed a team of, in my opinion, very competent men, calling their group the Economic Advisory Council. So it is good that the president has seen that there is a problem. Even so, before this appointment, we have started a discussion on the slow performance of the economy with Dr. Obadiah Lafia, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Today we continue with that discussion, but be sure to stay tuned for my view on the whole matter, including what I think of the new Economic Advisory Council. But before all this, in our hidden economics, we look at the seemingly small things that matter. Now, up next in our quick view, we rank countries by the Global Gender Gap Index. That's coming right away. The World Economic Forum has since 2006 generated the so-called Global Gender Gap Index to rank countries measuring the relative gaps between women and men across 4 key areas: health, education, economy, and politics. According to the World Economic Forum, the rankings are designed to create global awareness of the challenges posed by gender gaps and the opportunities created by reducing them. Apparently, some seemingly small things do really matter. In preparing for the future of work, it is important to ensure that 50% of the population is not overlooked in any country, as this would undermine economic productivity and output. Indeed, the latest Global Gender Gap Report indicates that as it is today, only 22% of artificial intelligence professionals globally are female, compared to 78% who are male. The implications of this kind of finding are wide-ranging and require urgent attention. In this connection, which among the following African countries ranks among the top 6 in the world with the best Global Gender Gap Index? Burundi, Namibia, Rwanda, and South Africa. Apart from these top 4 countries listed here, 14 other African countries also rank among the best 100 in the world as follows: Uganda, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Botswana, Cameroon, Tanzania, Cape Verde, Kenya, Eswatini, Lesotho, Madagascar, Ghana, Senegal, and Liberia. In this connection, which of the following positions represents Nigeria's Global Gender Gap Index rank among the 149 countries surveyed worldwide? 113, 123, 133, or 143? Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. Still in view, Dr. Lafia continues with us to analyze Nigeria's slow economy. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Forget about the big things, so say make we talk about the small things, so forget about the big things, so say make we talk about the small things, so yeah. Rara oh yeah. Agbaja, jangbaja, ulagbaja, rara oh yeah. Agbaja, jangbaja, ulagbaja, you are where they bless me.
Rara by the great Augustine Miles Kelechi, popularly known as Techno. Techno is a Nigerian musician, producer, performer, and dancer. Techno is one of the top highly rated Nigerian musicians with several musical productions. As it says in this song, forget about the big things, oh. Say, make we talk about the small things, oh. He is right. Much of the time, nations are concerned with big institutions, palaces, and infrastructure. These things can become so very visible, and so everybody is captivated by them. But often for progress, it is the invisible and small things that actually matter. Everybody can see your muscles and your beauty, but they don't see the blood coursing through your arteries and veins. No one sees your thoughts, your mind, or the accumulation of your knowledge. Oh, they may be invisible to you and so seem small, but they are ever so very important. Now think about this. The little things we do are actually the memories our friends, families, and society have of us. These are things like the way you smile or laugh, the way you talk, the way you dance or don't dance, or simply the way you associate with people. And small actions make up our attitude, habits, and behavior. Recently, the World Bank announced how they now question their own assumption that productive assets were limited to physical capital, natural capital, and institutional capital. Thankfully, they now realize that human capital accounts for about 2/3 of the wealth of our planet. So what is really the most important asset is people. Indeed, richer countries have a higher share of human capital in their wealth than poorer countries. So this is what it means. If governments invest more in the people will create more diffusion and help in growing the economy faster. But folks, don't wait for the government. Do whatever you can to invest in your own human capital and that of your household. This small thing matters a lot. Indeed, more than the others. The world is wide, and so are sustainable opportunities for anyone whose human capital is high or in high demand. Forget about the big things. Let's talk about the small things. Our hidden economics for you.
Bless your mama, oh yeah. See me, I see you, yeah. Badura for me, yeah. Loke, oh, Baba, Adeleke. International something, it's a big situation. They pack our money, oh, take it to other nation. Invest for your country, oh, make it a better place. Spend the money for your country, oh, make it a better place. Forget about the big things, so say make we talk about the small things, so
Before we start our discussion, here are our quick view answers. Rwanda is the African country that ranks among the best 6 countries in the world in ranking the Global Gender Gap Index scores. Nigeria ranks at number 133 among the 149 economies surveyed in the latest Global Gender Gap Index report. And this poor situation, reflected in the ranking, may be affecting our Human Capital Index scores and therefore productivity and development. For comments, adverts, and sponsorship, please see our information displayed on the screen. As we said last time, the Nigerian economy continues sluggish in the second quarter of 2019, failing to show any good sign of a strong recovery. And so we ask, this slow pace of real GDP growth, when will it end? To address this, we continue with Dr. Obadiah Mailafia. Obadiah Mailafia is a Nigerian development economist and the 2019 Nigerian presidential election candidate of African Democratic Congress. He's a former official of the African Development Bank Group and one-time deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Please join us in our continued discussion with Dr. Obadiah Mailafia. It seems to me that the reason is because we are not growing the factors of production in agriculture. This is what I'm just thinking.
Sure.
We are not getting the tools that we need in terms of technologies.
Yes.
And we are not investing in the peasant farmers.
No, we're not.
Like human
Exactly.
capital. Is that a rule for that? Can you, or should we just say the reason that's not happening is still because of insecurity?
Well, it's partly that. But you asked me what caused the recession.
Yes.
As an
Start from there,
economist,
yes.
a lot of factors cause recessions.
Okay.
One of them, the government was unlucky. It came at a time when oil prices were collapsing globally.
Yeah.
So that affected revenue.
Okay.
And that was a major factor. But again, the government contributed. In 2015, it took them a good 6 months,
Absolutely.
and from May to November,
Yes.
6 months before they could constitute a cabinet. That generated a lot of uncertainty and slowed down momentum for growth on its own.
Right.
And you compound that with the collapse in oil prices and the lack of activity, lack of focus for the government.
Yes.
And before you know it, we were in a major recession. And, so a lot of things fall in decline in confidence,
Yes.
worsening business climate,
Yes.
fall in aggregate demand,
Yes.
revenue challenges for the government, and so on. All these factors.
But before we
and I
came-
must say also just the sheer incompetence
Okay.
of the current administration.
Yes.
If truth be told,
Yes.
and we have to be honest with ourselves,
Yes.
here there's a gross incompetence in terms of economic policy management. All these factors contributed to the recession. And the recession we're in is dangerous because, you see, recessions can be V-shaped
Yes.
or W-shaped.
Yes.
A V-shaped recession, you come in, you reach a trough, you go up again, and you continue going up and growing. A W can continue as a W. You
think
make
we have a double dip?
Yes. Then you go down, you make a double dip. You go down, you go
we
down.
have a very wide
Yes.
U.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then this is really where we are.
Okay.
We have officially recovered from recession, but it is a very delicate recovery in the sense that anything could trigger, the collapse of the economy again.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we slowed down again, not as bad as last time,
Yeah.
but it was only recently that we constituted a cabinet. And that was not good enough. Boris Johnson, the very day he was made prime minister, announced his cabinet.
Yes.
That same day.
But before we came on air, you were saying that the president means well, that he's good, but maybe his team is not so strong. I mean, so if he's good, then how come this disillusionment? How come the people, there's this perplexity to people as to the direction the country is going, if he's good as a person?
Well, one thing is that I think he's not corrupt.
Okay.
In the sense that he wouldn't take the people's patrimony to Swiss bank accounts like Abacha and some other people and deposit it there. That one we granted to him. Number two, I think he means well.
Yeah.
He genuinely, in his heart, means well for the country. He wants to see the country go forward.
So the problem is the
But-
enormity of the problem?
Possibly so. His illness has been paralyzing, demobilizing.
But he's well now.
He is much better now. But he has a very dangerous leadership style.
Okay.
And that is literally sitting back and handing over
Okay.
power to an unelected team of subalterns, which he publicly announced that they are now in charge of. This is who the ministers should report to.
Okay.
So it's as if the buck no longer stops with him.
Yeah.
And to me, that is a constitutional abdication of responsibility and
No, I think
mandate.
is that a constitutional problem or just a style that may not work?
I said constitutionally, he's de facto handing over his power to people that were not elected.
No, but he has not, well, de facto I understand, but he could say, or people could argue that that's his style. It's just that it's not a good style.
But it is a very dangerous style.
Yes, I mean, you could say
because
that,
if you're a true leader, the buck stops with you.
Absolutely.
Magnus, if you're a president tomorrow, the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
In small things as well as in big things.
Yeah.
As leader, you set the tone for the country. You give a vision to the country.
Yeah.
Today we have no vision. Today we have no purpose. We don't even know where we're heading as a country. The leader doesn't engage with the youths, doesn't engage with women's groups, doesn't engage with civil society, doesn't give anybody any hope.
What about at the state level? Okay, let's say this is happening at the federal level.
Yes.
So how come we also have Malays at the state level?
Yes.
I mean, I can't point to a particular state that is stellar in performance.
Absolutely.
So is that the fault of the federal also? That's why we have our type of federal arrangement. We want people to see some states that are exemplary.
Yes.
Are there some states that you can point to as being good examples in terms of strong economic activity?
Well, in terms of improvements in infrastructures,
Okay.
I think that Governor Wike in Rivers is putting in some efforts.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
This is really where we are.
Let me jump from there because that's pretty deep.
Yes.
Let's go back to the Senate and look at what the president said a few months ago about poverty.
Sure.
Saying that he believes that we could lift 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years. At the rate that we're growing, well below the population growth rate.
Sure.
We have what I call immiserizing growth, this negative per capita real GDP growth.
Yes.
At this type of pace, with this kind of numbers that we see, can we lift 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years?
I know that is what he said on June 12th. That is what he said on June 12th.
Yes.
But, his speechwriters were very clever.
Okay.
They said, we could lift.
We could, okay.
He didn't say, I will lift.
Okay.
Or we intend to lift.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Okay.
And whichever way he said it, it is easier said than done in our system. It is not enough to just say it. You should demonstrate that you have the framework to implement it.
Yeah.
But that one we have not seen at all. And you are right. Our population grows at 3.2% every year. This year would be lucky to get 2% growth. Last year, and annually.
Oh, you mean in GDP?
In GDP.
Real GDP. Okay.
Yeah, real GDP. Mm-hmm. Last year it was 1. It was not even 2%, 1.9. And you see, GDP growth 1.9%, demographic growth 3.2%. So we're really growing negatively. Yeah. If you look at it. Absolutely. So there is no how unless we do something drastic.
So we have admitted that the Nigerian economy appears to be tired. It has failed to rise briskly since it fell into a recessionary pit in 2016. To help lift it up, President Muhammadu Buhari has set up a body known as the Economic Advisory Council to be headed by Professor Doyin Salami of the Lagos Business School. So what happens now? First, I think the president has set up a good team with highly qualified individuals. So, do they have the brain power to do the job? Yes. Can they do the job? I pray so. As good as these guys are, it is not sufficient to just appoint them and have them running around to see how they can get the job done. A big thing also that is needed is a serious secretariat of staff to collect and analyze the data needed to make decisions. A constant problem in developing countries is to make policy decisions that are not evidence-based. Even so, it would appear that there are too many people on the team. Economists tend to refer to their hands. On the one hand, and then also on the other hand. So there would be 16 big and intellectually powerful but differing hands in the council. Luckily, there is a chairman whose hands should be very powerful. Now, not speaking for the presidency, but there is nothing wrong with dissolving the previous economic management team. Hopefully, people know that the Vice President continues to chair the National Economic Council, the so-called NEC, NEC, which includes some ministers, the CBN governor, and state governors. I just think that even so, the NEC needs to have a stronger capacity for national economic coordination, as in the United States, whose political economy we emulate, so much that we now have both a Council of Economic Advisors and a National Economic Council, although they are constituted differently. In the end, the president is the boss, and he must have the final say, because years from now, when people recall a presidential tenure, they may not know who were members of any economic team. Therefore, this team must make sure it is about the success of the president and his ideas and vision, and not their own. The president is a politician. These guys are, well, mostly not politicians, but economists. So the principal and the agent must work well together for the whole thing to work. The president wants the economy to begin to perform. These guys are hired to help him achieve that. I believe that all things being equal, they can do it. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and that's my view.
Magnus,